That doesn't suck too much.
Boozel's oceans were deep and fertile, a large zone where the genetically altered worms, gigantic round mouth glittering with crystalline teeth. His team captured a specimen and confirmed the result.
And welcome back to the Sierra. East side this time. Okay, 6 days of food on my back. So I woke up this morning at 3:30 in the morning in Warner Springs. Drove 8 or 9 hours to get up here. I'm at the Twin Lakes above Bridgeport, which is a trailhead I've used multiple times. Yeah, I think that's Horse Canyon where I did Matterhorn and Whirl. Basically, when I started planning rehab trips, this was planned before the one last week. So this was originally going to be my go out, get some miles, see how I was doing. Settled on this because really pretty area that I have good memories of, having done a trip a couple of years ago when I was kind of struggling. Sadly, well, not quite sadly, but yeah, it is Jen's first day of school today. She doesn't have students yet, has a couple of prep days. So she left the Warner Springs rental for the last time. When I come out of here in about 6 days, I'm gonna head straight back there, pack everything up, move the last of our stuff to storage, check out, and then Jen and I are going to go in for a quick weekend, basically along the High Sierra Trail. But then I'm going to continue and basically do the Big Secchi Loop plus some peaks. Jen is both sad that the summer is over and excited that another new crop of students is incoming. She has been giddily working on lesson plans and things like that for the last week or two. So the previous trip Jen and I did together, which I came out of 3 days ago, I think, went really well. Pretty happy all around. I got 90 some miles across 6-7 days, and I held up fairly well. I did kind of butt up against some endurance limits one day when we were trying to get over Big Sam. Considering the amount of time I was sick and the damage the prednisone did, again, I'm pretty happy I'm able to get out and do stuff at that level. So at this point, I am basically just trying to bang on myself a bit, get as many miles as I can, and just make completely sure that I'm good to be out here before I fly out to Burlington, Vermont to start the long trail around September 10th, 11th. So this trip will be 70 or 80 miles. I have a really cool loop planned, hits the Grand Canyon of the Tuolumne and some other stuff. And then when I come out, the next one will be a full-on like 2-week trip. This trip almost didn't happen. The Jeep has been having overheating issues. It was a major thing last weekend during that horrendous 400 or 500 mile each way drive. We took it in, and it basically looks like it might be time to get a new vehicle. We ended up having Jen drive the Jeep into Orange County, and I'm in her little Mazda 2 up here, which both of us would rather be in our own cars, but the idea of having to crawl up hills at 35 miles an hour with the heat gauge at the 3/4 mark again for hours and hours and hours wasn't pleasant for either of us. I did debate just skipping the trip. I mean, I got a 90-mile thing, and then I got a 2-week thing coming up. But both of us kind of feel better getting as many miles under my belt as possible, just in case I'm not quite recovered enough to be doing what I'm doing. On trail last week, I did pretty well. My problems happened when I got back home after the long car ride. My feet were swollen just a little bit, not even visible in minor spots. That is a symptom of HSP. I haven't had any of the major symptoms in a while, but is what it is. We're hoping that I start ramping down on medication in a couple of weeks here, but with everything that has gone wrong this year, anytime I have any sort of symptoms, it is kind of hard to take mentally. But hey, that's why you go into the mountains, right? Leave most of that crap behind and just be happier. Today was actually planned as a bonus day. There is a resort, Annette's, at the trailhead basically, so you have to pay them to park here. So I needed to get here during normal business hours. So I kind of figured get up here while they're still open, hike a few miles in, and then find a place to camp. Decided to leave the house at the same time Jen did for work, so we were up at 3:30, out at 4:30, and I made pretty good time not having to worry about engines overheating and things. So similar to last week's trip, this is going to be a combination of some trail I've seen that I found really, really pretty, Barney Lake and the canyon around Glen Otten, and then trying to see some other areas that I haven't. I will actually be butting up against last week's trip. Basically, I came in from the west side last week, went in deep, coming in from the east side this week, going in deep, so they're just about overlapping as it turned out. Normally I try and geographically distribute the trips a little more. However, I had already planned this one, and then the one last week was basically built around things Jen had really liked since it was her birthday. And, you know, the only downside to having two trips up this way is 2 long drives. Next week, I will have a much shorter drive, and I'm going to cover most of the Southern Sierra pretty heavily with that Big Secchi loop. The Barney Lake it's talking about is one of those spots that's always stuck with me, like McGee Canyon and a few others. Just particularly beautiful and memorable. Unfortunately, since it is fairly close to the trailhead, it does tend to get a good amount of people camping there, and all the usual problems that come with those two factors. So my goal is to get to Barney Lake, enjoy Barney Lake, and then hike in further and get a isolated backcountry site somewhere. If you're wondering why I'm once again overlapping rather than doing something completely new, honestly, I spent 10 plus years peak bagging all over the Sierra. You got to go pretty damn far north to get into areas that I haven't been in heavily. I was also trying to avoid just doing a long stretch of the PCT, because as much as I love the PCT, I have done the John Muir Trail, which overlaps in this area, twice, PCT once, plus with all the peak bagging, I have been up and down that corridor quite a bit. So I kind of like going for those more out of the way spots like Falls Canyon or Styx Pass last week. And end of the day, my goal is just to get, 15 plus miles a day. Make sure I'm handling the altitude okay, make sure I can carry a pack with 7 days of food and everything. Because like I said, once I get out to Vermont, having to come off trail due to injury or illness or not being prepared enough would be a lot messier. I'd rather have to abort it before I got on the plane rather than after. And yeah. Nice backers. They gave me Rice Krispie treats. So while the Western Sierra tends to be a more gradual ascent and wetter, at least when you're not in a burn zone like we were last week, the east side is a lot steeper and a lot drier. So I started down around 7,000 feet, and I think I have to get to 10.8 today is where I was thinking maybe I'd camp. This side is known for the big climbs. We have a number of passes that you have to go 5,000 or 6,000 feet to get up into the Sierra proper. That is something I was disappointed about last weekend. We didn't have any summer thunderstorms or anything. Those tend to be a treat out here. It's not like the AT where it rains on you for like a week at a time. So here's hoping to at least get some thunder in the distance. That's the view I came for. So that peak there is Crown Point. A couple of years ago, Jen and I led a trip up here since we had done a backpack up here and really liked how pretty the area was. And that was one of the peaks we did. I think the other one was over that way. Okay, theoretically, I will be coming from this path straight on Monday sometime. I'm going to take the trail to Crown Lake and then come by a Peeler Lake later, hopefully. Oh man, that is pretty. So this is Robinson Lake. I already came across one group here, so I was going to push on anyway. Maybe fill up once I'm between this and try and find a dry camp. Okay, it's almost 7, so I think I'm going to fill up with water for the night. That doesn't suck too much. Okay, so trail's down there, crawled up, feeling like there's probably something here that'd be private, and I think this is going to be me tonight. I do like hanging campsites. I decided it was a little too tempting. Came a little further and I found a duck in an old fire pit. Might have to down climb for the last real viable LNT site, though. I don't want to be on the grass or anything right there. Okay, I think I might be able to accept this one. It's hard because there is such like tempting terrain. I'm sure I can find more camps, but this should work. And it is suitably private, not too far from the trail. Nice enough camp. I debated leaving the tent fly off, but I am in between some lakes and things around here, and saves me from having to dry my sleeping bag off in the morning. So I did between 7 and 8 miles today, which isn't bad considering 6 days of food and all that. And tomorrow will be easier in a lot of ways. I also tend to feel kind of off the first day after Jen and I separate like this. So, home sweet home, and here's to hopefully an even better day in the morning.